everyone, I'm Stacia Alexaneder coming to you with B-Rated Magazine. I know you're wondering why am I sitting on this floor or near the floor in front of all of these toys. It's because I want to talk to you about something that's very dear to my heart, and that's being a mother. I've wanted for a very long time to be a mother, and I had the special privilege of raising, and I'm still having the privilege of raising two beautiful children. And a conversation with my daughter the other day put something very in the forefront of my memory that I had kind of put to the backside. And it was an experience that I had with her older brother when he was a toddler. My husband and I, of course, we were new at parenting. We were young, and we had this really easygoing baby. He rarely cried. If he was hungry or wet, he cried. But he was an easygoing baby, and so all of a sudden, he wouldn't sleep through the night anymore, and we could not figure it out. And you'll see why I'm sharing this story with you. It's really close to my heart. We get to this point in our lives where he's screaming every night, and we're reading books. Of course, me being a therapist, my husband is a behavioral specialist. We know all of the, what should you say, the technical things about parenting. We've read books, we've taught classes, all of these things were going through our mind about what we should do with our child while he won't sleep through the night. So one particular night, he's screaming his head off. We'd already tried putting a gate at his door so that he couldn't just come out of his room. He learned how to climb that gate. I got pretty crafty. I put 2 gates on his door so that he wouldn't climb over 2 gates. Well, he screamed louder. We kept focusing on, okay, we shouldn't go in there. We're going to spoil him. We're going to do all of these things. But he cried, and he cried until he fell asleep. So I figured he'd climb back in his bed and would sleep for the night. But when I woke up the next morning, my baby boy, he was no more than 2 because the little girl wasn't here yet. My baby boy was on the floor. He had slept. He'd made a pallet with his blanket and his pillow. He'd made a blanket at that door with the gates there. And of course, it broke my heart when I woke up the next morning. I told my daughter I wasn't going to cry when I shared this story with you guys, but it broke my heart that my baby boy had slept on the floor that night. And so we were pretty upset, my husband and I. But when I got to work that day, one of my coworkers, an older woman who I really respected, she said, "Hey, what's wrong?" I told her, I said, he won't sleep anymore. Something's going on. So she pulled me to the back and she asked me, what's in his room? And I told her, I said, toys and books and just things that we do with him when we get home. And she said, no, I need you to be specific and tell me what things are in his room. So I told her some things that people had gifted us with. And she said, what I want you to do, I want you to go home and I want you to pack everything up. The stuffed toys and toys that you don't really know where they came from, put them in a trash bag, get them out of the house, and then I want you to pray over his room. She said, and I promise you, your baby boy is going to sleep all night. I'm going to pray with you, you're going to pray with him, and he's going to sleep all night. So she began to minister to me about spiritual warfare and how the devil comes at our children in the least expected ways. When we have our guard down, we're not thinking about it. And he comes to them when we're not around. And so of course I'm getting very nervous, I'm getting very scared, and but I'm listening. I'm holding it close to my heart. So I go pick up my son, I go back home. My husband is not home because he works at night, and it's already dark. It's falling, it's dark, and I'm a nervous person, but I do it. She told me what to do. I do it. I pack up all of the stuffed toys. Only ones I kept, and just not even in his room, were the ones that I had had since I was a child. But I kept everything in a trash bag, and I took it down to the garage, and I came back. I sat him in the floor with me, and I prayed. And I prayed in his room, and I prayed over my son, and that baby boy slept all night long. We were so ecstatic. Of course, I ran back to work the next day. I told her what had happened, and she said, of course, I'm not surprised. I knew what was going to happen. So we're going to pray and thank God for that miracle last night. So what it put on my heart is that if you don't pray for your children, if you don't pray over your children, how can you expect a miracle? Now, God doesn't need us to perform a miracle in our children's lives, but if we're not praying for them, if we're so caught up in what we're doing as adults, we have work, we have our activities, we have our volunteer work, we're doing for other people. I take care of a couple of people in my family, but we're doing all of these things. If we don't stop to pray over our children, why should we expect a miracle? So I'm challenging you all during this month, take a moment to pray over your children. I take it a step further. I pray over the spouses of my children. They're only teenagers right now. Both of them are still teenagers. And I already pray for their spouses, wherever they may be. I pray for who's raising their spouses. I pray for the experiences that they're having, so that when these two souls come together, they'll be healthy, they'll be well, and they'll be ready for a love relationship, for a marriage. So I know this may be heavy for some people, and some people may not even understand spiritual warfare. I had already been studying it when she brought it to me, but that was another experience that I had that solidified for me that I have to be in constant prayer over my children. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Let me know. I love your feedback. I really do. It helps me in my ministry. It helps me to know where I need to study, and it helps me to know what to talk about with people. So you all be blessed, and remember, pray over your children all the time.